Good evening, and welcome to the 2025 Exeter Township Supervisors Candidates Forum, brought to you by the Exeter Examiner. Tonight, we hear directly from the candidates who felt it was important to face the public, answer your questions, and earn your trust. Now, let's get started. Here's your moderator, Jim Ruoff.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us here at the Dunn Community Center for this public forum and debate of the Exeter Township Board of Supervisor candidates. All candidates for the upcoming election have been invited here tonight, and although all were invited, these candidates were the only ones who accepted the invitation. Dave Vollmer did accept the invitation to participate, but we found out today that he's withdrawing from the race, so he is not in attendance here tonight. George Bell, Michelle Kircher, and Amanda Johnsen are on the ballot, but declined to participate in tonight's forum. Tonight's candidate forum is sponsored by the Exeter Examiner and brought to you by JG Media and Jerry Geller. My name is Jim Ruoff, and I will be the moderator for tonight's forum. I think this is a great opportunity for the candidates to share their vision for Exeter Township with the residents and taxpayers, and for the voters to get educated about the candidates so they can make an informed decision at the upcoming election. I'd like to remind everyone in attendance and watching at home that we promise to run a fair, respectful, and impartial forum here tonight. So both candidates on this panel deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, even if you don't agree with their opinions. That does not mean we won't be asking some tough questions pertaining to matters involving the township. Our sponsor and host promised the candidates that he would not be involved in determining the topics or questions for tonight's forum. And I can tell you that he kept that promise and recused himself from any and all discussion on content. Nor have I been involved in determining the content and questions for the forum. An independent panel was formed, and this panel determined the topics and questions for tonight based on matters they feel that the voters want to hear about. That panel consisted of Allison Wilson, Chad Capelin, Jonathan Scatia, and John Beck. I think we have some excellent questions, but we certainly haven't covered everything. So there will be some time at the end of the forum for questions from the audience as well. Okay. For the upcoming election, there is essentially three positions: 1 2-year term and 3 6-year terms. It's important to keep that in mind when casting your votes. So with that, I would like to welcome the only two candidates for Exeter Township Board of Supervisors that chose to face the voters of Exeter Township in this public forum. Please welcome incumbent Supervisor Mohammad who is running for a 6-year term, and Larry Drogo, who is also running for a 6-year term and a 2-year term. We can give them a round of applause. Now let's move on to the format and rules of this forum. First, we will give each candidate up to 2 minutes to introduce themselves and share their background as well as their summary vision for Exeter Township should they be elected to this board position. Next, we will move on to the candidate questions from me, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Should one candidate mention the other candidate in their response to a question, that candidate will then be offered an opportunity for a 30-second rebuttal comment on that specific issue only. We have 10 questions, all the same questions for each candidate. To keep things fair, we will rotate who answers each question first. I will read each question one time. If you need me to repeat the question when it's your turn, please ask me to do so. And then finally, we will open up the floor to questions from the audience. Again, with a 1-minute time limit on your response and a 30-second rebuttal if your name is mentioned in the response. Again, all questions from the audience must not only be respectful, but also pertinent to township issues and/or the role of township supervisor. During that segment of the forum, anyone watching at home can ask a question in the chat, but it's going to be a recorded interview, so that really isn't pertinent for tonight. Okay, So, at the very end, we'll close with a 1-minute statement that you guys can have a closing statement, and that'll be 1 minute. Is there any questions with regard to the format for tonight? All right, guys, then let's get started.
Absolutely. Mohammad. I'm a husband, and I am a father of 2, and those 2 are the reason I'm doing this, because I would like him to grow up and be proud to say that I'm from Exeter Township. I'm a senior engineer project manager, currently working with the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission. Graduated from Temple University in Philadelphia, and after graduation I grabbed a position with PennDOT at the time. And I worked my way through the ranks until I became what was called at the time the district utility engineer. One of the projects that I worked on was 95 BR0, and I happened to give a presentation at the Turnpike Commission about that project, and about a week or so later, we got a phone call, and Turnpike Commission said, hey, would you be interested in a vacant position we have? And it's been 10 years that I am a senior engineer project manager with the Turnpike Commission. Ryan, many projects, 2 of the very noticeable ones, they are the Southern Beltway around Pittsburgh area and Montfayette Expressway around the Pittsburgh area. And I hold the honor to be part of those projects, and they're very successful, and they're currently open to traffic. The same perspective, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm also a businessman. And if elected, I have a few things in mind. I would like to increase the communication between the township supervisors and the public. By doing so, I believe, since I've been appointed, I've been trying to utilize my time during the supervisor comments to inform people what I've done, what I plan on doing, and what's coming next as far as big items. I still think we need to do better, and I still think we need to come a long way for us to achieve excellence in that matter. With that being said, my second point is I'll continue to try to invite residents, new residents that is, and invite the new businesses to the township. Reason being is I'm hoping to get the traction that we need in the area to start some sort of economic development. We are very stale now. Nothing is happening, nothing is booming currently. We would like something to gain traction, hopefully. The third point is we have plenty of nice spaces. This is one of them. Plenty of parks, crowd runs. Why can't we invest more into those and actually hold more events, such as a food truck event, a car show event? Why do I have to go to Pottstown to attend a car show, or go to West Reading to attend the food truck event? Why can't I do it in Exeter? So we could improve on those a little bit. And lastly, I want to circle back and go back to the core of what a township is and what they should be serving, which is obviously improving and supporting police, improving and supporting our fire department, improving and supporting our highway department, and lastly, improving and supporting the Parks and Recs department. That is my 2-minute introduction.
Thank you, Mohammad.
Thank you.
Larry?
Hi, I'm Larry Drogo. I'm born and raised in Berks County. I've been in Exeter here. I'm going to read off my list here. I've been in Exeter for about 40 years. I feel as though one of my strengths is how I get along with people. I know a lot of people have tried to tie me to different people. I've had a lot of back and forth with people on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. And I'm probably a little more in the middle than either way. And I just think it's very unfair that they tie me to people. My education is I have a bachelor's in mathematics. I've been an engineer my whole life. I'm retired. I like doing engineering work. We live on a little farm up in Stonersville area. We interact with our neighbors. I was the chairman of the Exeter Sewer Authority for about 30 years until the supervisors decided to sell it, and we know what happened after that. I've been president of the Sewer Authority. I've been president of the Dakota Pacers. I was president of the Dandy Boone Association, Friends Association for a while. I'm a high outdoor enthusiast. I like to do a lot of things outdoors. I'm an antique car owner. I go to antique car shows. I raise bees. We raise chickens. We do a lot of things. I do a lot of volunteering right now. I'm being retired. We try to keep busy that way. And I'm just looking to get more involved again. Like I said, I have some time right now, looking to get more involved. And I see that the money is just about all gone from the sewer authority. And I'd like to see something concrete that we can actually say, we have $100 million and we got something that I can say, look, this is what we got. Right now, we don't have anything that I can point to and say, out of $100 million, what did you get? We got a lot of legal fees, we got a lot of this, a lot of that, but there's nothing concrete that the voters of Exeter Township can say, hey, that gained us something instead of for all these rate increases that we got from the sewer. Other than that, I'm always looking to cut taxes. I know that Exeter isn't high on taxes, but we also have a dump that gives us a bunch of money that our taxes probably should be a little bit lower. And maybe if we got the taxes down a little bit, that would offset some of the sewer plant money that people pay every month. So that's about it for me. We'll just wait for some questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll get to those questions. I'll repeat that first question now. Okay, you are both running for a 6-year term. If the goal is to make Exeter the best place to live in Berks County, then all decisions regarding projects and initiatives should be made with that in mind. What are 2 or 3 areas where you believe Exeter is already on the right track? And what are 2 or 3 areas where we need improvement? And what specific actions would you take to address them? And let's start with you, Mohammad, on the first question.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just pick a couple for the interest of saving time. 2 areas that I think we're excelling at is A, new police. In my opinion, the police department do a phenomenal job. We are unfortunately blessed with 422 that runs from Philadelphia to Pottstown into Reading, and a lot travels through that. In my perspective, our police force is doing a phenomenal job of keeping us safe, keeping the community safe, and keeping all the nonsense out of Exeter. The other area that I think we excel at, and I'll give a shout out to Larry if he was here, but he's not, I think the highway department does a phenomenal job as well. Not only from salting, not only from snow removal, but to paving. If we contract that pavement out, it would be quadruple what it costs for Larry's forces to do it in-house. We're an MS4 holder, which an MS4 permit is an environmental permit that pertains to us taking a commitment toward cleaning our stormwater management systems, and that speaks high volume of the highway department that we have. A couple of issues that I would like to improve or work on is, as I stated earlier in my introduction, is the economic development or the business issue within the community. As I said, we had a movie theater, we had a bowling alley, and we had different restaurants, and all of a sudden they're going away and selling. Well, there's 2 perspectives to that. If the community does not go to the establishment and support them, how are they going to keep their doors open? So it does not only stop or starts with the supervisor, it goes through the community as well. So we need to do better on that. We need to improve on that. The way to do better on that is to invite more people to the area. Tell them, hey, come to Exeter. Whether it comes from anybody here in the audience, reaching out, saying, hey, why don't you come to my community and say what we have? It's not much, but we have a different characteristic in the area. We got farmland, and we got the main business strip. Why don't you come and look at it? Maybe you'll be interested in investing here. The other area that near and dear to my heart, and I don't know how much we could do, we're doing horrible in it, is the water issue, the Aqua Pennsylvania issue. I don't know how much could be done, but the way to go is, we know your supervisors here are hopeless, you know your Senate is hopeless, we went to the PUC and there's nothing is happening there. So what else do you do? I understand Great American Water is for business, and I'm for that. Please go ahead and make your profit. But you need to make your money back in a matter of 10, 15 years. Why can't you do it in 25, 30 years? It's not like people are going to stop drinking water and using the sewage. So stop being greedy. My next thing that I will do is I'll go to Judge Shapiro and I'll say here, if you truly care about the people of Pennsylvania, why don't you talk to Great American Water and have them back down a little bit? Cut that rate a little bit. So those are the two areas that frustrates me about Exeter.
Okay, I think the two areas, I think like Mohammad said, all our municipal employees are all doing good. We've got a great police department, there's no doubt about that. We've got a great fire department, there's no doubt about that. Our parks, our streets department is great under Larry. That kind of thing I think Exeter excels in. The problem that we seem to have in Exeter is the political wrangling back and forth. And I think that needs to be improved. I know I talk to a lot of people and they say, well, why would I want to move to Exeter? All I hear about it in the paper, or I talk to people, is they're arguing on the supervisor board, or somebody's suing this guy or somebody's suing that guy. And I like to get away from that. One of my primary focuses would be two things. I'd like to, like I said, spend what money we have left either on the administration building or on the fire company, or both, depending on how much it is. I think that it was a little wrong to go ahead and just push ahead with these things where we hired a project manager already for large projects without first getting some kind of idea of what the people would like to do with the money or not like to do. Personally, if we spend $100 million or $200 million, I don't care, as long as the people want that kind of thing. We have, I'm not sure, maybe $20 million left in the sewer fund, and I'm sure that can build us some nice buildings. One other thing I'd like to push for as a focus is the outdoor activities, or not so much outdoor activities. Young people nowadays want to go into areas that they can walk their kids in, or you see some of the areas we have here in Exeter, they can do that, but when you go over to Wyomissing, you see people walking all the time. They've got parks, they've got roads that are wide enough that they can push a baby carriage on or ride a bicycle on. I belong to a running club that we go to different areas of the county every week. They come and somebody hosts. They come to my house. They don't want to run from my house because the roads are so bad. Not that they're bad, but they're not wide enough to accommodate runners, bikers, or whatever. I think that's a big loss to our township. Like I said, I think if we get I think they're working towards getting the political people to agree more, but I think we've got to get the people more involved. When we talk about starting to spend hundreds of millions, or tens of millions of dollars on new buildings, I think the people should be more involved up front and just coming out and saying, oh, we're going to get, we're just pushing ahead with hiring a project manager for this. Nobody said how much it's going to cost you. So that's one of my major things. Like I said, the township is a good township, there's no doubt about that. We've got a lot of good things here. But ever since the money came in, we seem to have a lot of infighting as to where the money is going. We spent a lot of money on legal fees. We spent tens of $millions on legal fees. How does that happen in a township our size? I don't know. So I'd like to bring people together more. I'd like to spend what money we have left on something substantial, a building or something. And that's what I think. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I was very generous with the 1 minute time limit on those two answers. But in the interest of time, and because I don't know how much time Jerry wants to allow for.
I got all night, baby.
Okay, but at the 1 minute time limit, I'll hold up this sign so that you know where you're at, and maybe you can think about wrapping up your comments at that particular
Say
time.
something, we'll stop it.
Yes, this flag is.
Yes.
Okay. Question number 2, and we'll start with you on this one now. The location and project manager for a new fire station have already been decided with limited public involvement. This has the potential to be a $15 to $20 million project. How do you think a huge project like this should be handled, and what role should residents play in shaping these decisions? And how will you ensure public input moving forward? Larry?
This is one of the things I just mentioned. I think the people are seeing this, that we're kind of putting the cart before the horse. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of projects, and we usually have people talking about, okay, what do we want? How much can we afford? I don't know if they did that or not, because nothing's been said. I know Chris gave a nice presentation about what he needs for the fire department. Very good presentation. And we probably need a fire department, a new fire station. But the cost involved, I think the people want to know or be involved. When we bought the country club, they had a referendum. They went around that for 6 months. Now, I know the fire department has been pushing this for probably 20 years, a new fire station. But the people want to be involved when it comes down to, yes, we want to do it. How much money are we going to spend? What's it going to cost us in taxes? They want to know that. I think it pushing ahead with that project manager didn't set a good tone for the people of Exeter.
Thank you. Mohammad?
Thank you. So, we obviously not going to go over the need of the fire department and why it exists. I'm going to try to justify why we have a project manager. And the reason being is we put an RFP out, and that is a request for proposal looking for architectural companies to come in and give us their proposal to build or design that fire department. With that being said, not talking bad about what we have in the township as far as employees, whether it's Larry or whether it's manager, but they are not an architect and they are not an engineer. So when those proposals are going to come in, who is going to evaluate them and recommend them to the Board of Supervisors? With that being said, myself or Jack, I see him there, we're more than capable of doing it, but how do we evaluate the proposal and then recommend it to ourselves? That will be a massive conflict of interest. So that's why we went with the project manager. Project manager did have a proposal. Jack and I actually had a conversation with them over a Teams meeting. We put their scope together, we negotiated their hours, their CoStar's approved vendor. CoStar approved vendor meaning they're obligated to provide the best rate possible to the township. With that being said, that's why I feel that it was okay to get a project manager on board. The next steps for the firehouse is once we have an architect, he is to give us the vision what that's going to look like based on the RFP, because if you read the RFP, it has all the information that everybody's questioning, the size, the number of bays, the number of rooms inside it, so we would be able to define that. And once we have a budget, we could come to the public and give you guys option which financing direction you want to go with and how this building is going to look like. Sorry for going over, I apologize.
It's okay, it's just a gentle reminder to kind of wrap things up, that's all. Okay, the next question. Many residents have expressed concerns about communication, a lack of transparency, and limited opportunities for public input. For example, the meeting agendas often include business for which there is relevant documentation, but those materials are not made available to the public until after the meetings, often only by request, limiting the ability for the public to comment. What specific changes would you support to make meeting information more accessible, enhance transparency, and provide more time for residents to contribute to decisions? Could you consider a format similar to the school board, having discussion at one meeting and then the actual voting at the next meeting? This would allow for more thoughtful decision making, more thoughtful decision making and time for public input. And we'll start with Mohammad on this.
Thank you. So honestly, I don't know why we have this set up, and I don't know if it's feasible to do what you suggested, although it sounds fantastic. I would be considering it definitely, but I'm no lawyer in any shape or form, so I would have to vet it through and see if it's feasible. That being said, The supervisors, each individual's one, they get a time allotted to them. I think that is the opportunity for the supervisors to inform the public what is being worked on to what's been permitted to him to share it, because some informations are obviously confidential between the lawyer and a supervisor, and so on. That's my approach to this. But good point, I like it. If it's feasible, I'm looking at Jack, maybe we'll work it out.
Larry.
Well, like, this is part of what I said. I think the supervisors all know what they're doing. I mean, I trust everyone on there right now. I mean, I know Jack, met most of them, I know most of them a long time. And I think they know what they're doing, but I think what's happening is they're making decisions without letting the people know, and then people don't know what's going on. When they don't know what's going on, they're going back to what happened with the sewer plant, where we were told, oh, we're going to sell it, it's all going to be great, and the sewer rates are going to go down. That's what people are used to in Exeter. They want a little more, maybe transparency up front. I mean, I've been to some meetings where about the development in back of Walmart there, and 95% of the people that I saw, they were all against it. I don't live near there, but they were all against it. And we had a couple meetings, and it was kind of consistent that everybody was against it. 3 meetings later, they voted for it. That kind of thing, I think we should listen to the people more. I mean, sometimes, yeah, I personally think that would be a good idea, but if 95% of the township doesn't want that, I think we should go with the township. I think we're here to listen to the township and not push our views on them. That's just what I feel.
Thank you. Okay. Next question. A ballot measure is being considered to transition Exeter Township to a first-class township. Do you support this change? Why or why not? And what steps should the Board of Supervisors take to educate residents before the vote? Should the township also consider home rule, and under what circumstances? And before we get to your responses, for those in the audience and those possibly watching at home rule basically transfers the basic authority to act in municipal affairs from state law to a local charter drafted, adopted, and amended by the municipal voters. So with that question, we'll start with Larry.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about this, about going to, because we're getting so large. Personally, I would be against it. I know there's some good things. They said, well, instead of a 6-year term, you have 4-year terms, and you can now have a health department, and you can do multiple things. I guess, do we need all that? I guess I've been here a long time, and I know the township's done good as a small community. I mean, we're getting larger every day, obviously, but I like to keep the hometown feel. I don't want to become a large metropolitan type operation like Reading. I like to keep it small, and I just think that's another next step up to, then it can also increase taxes more with the new level of government. So there's a lot of good things and there's a lot of bad things. I mean, I think it is one good thing. This is what I'm talking about. You've got to get the people involved and explain to them. Not, George Bell got up and he gave us all a list of good things. I didn't hear one bad thing, and it's just like when we was told the sewer plant. We heard all good things, but we never hear the other side of the story. So get all the information out, let the people decide, and go ahead.
Thank you. Mohammad?
Thank you. So personally, I am not for it whatsoever at this point. I think we're good where we're at. We have a good system going. In the future, 5, 10 years from now, if we find that traction for economic development, and if we attract another 5,000 residents or so, maybe it's something worth talking about. But as we sit now, I think we're good. I don't see the need to transfer the township from second class to a first class. I don't see a benefit personally to it.
Okay.
I'll keep it simple.
Okay, fair enough. All right, question number 5, and this one's a long one. The RCC, Reading Country Club, was purchased by taxpayers of Exeter and subsequently lost over $30 million, benefiting only a select group of resident golfers and staff. The taxpayers sold the Reading Country Club for roughly $4.8 million, of which $2 million will be paid at the end of 10 years. Interestingly, it was originally acquired to prevent further residential housing development, but it is now almost certain that 216 apartments will be constructed by an outside developer in a nearby location, and the sale of the Reading Country Club only carries a 10-year lien or restriction on housing development. The taxpayers of Exeter have also optioned the former Promenade Shopping Center for $100,000 and have mortgaged the property with a $3 million 0% note for up to 10 years. To put it simply, the Board of Supervisors loaned $5 million of taxpayer money at 0% interest for 10 years. And those interest-free loans were never offered publicly, and it has not been made public whether these terms were requested by the buyers or if they were suggested by members of the board or the township solicitor. Do you believe the taxpayers benefited from these privately negotiated terms? And how would you have handled these two former properties of the taxpayers of Exeter? And this will start with Mohammad.
Thank you. So we'll start with the Reading Country Club. Got on the Board of Supervisors, realized there was an issue and they were trying to sell it. I believe they advertised it and there was only one bidder. The one bid as was open, it was the terms that you looked at. Never was offering anyone a loan or a term or interest-free term. That was the only sole bid we received. From my seat and my perspective, just getting on the township, looking at it, how much are you spending a year on that Reading Country Club? Well, north of 500,000. So that times 10, there's your interest. In my perspective, if we negated that bid and we didn't take the sale, the property would still be the way it was, and we would still be paying to maintain it, sending public works over there, and doing much more to it. As far as the promenade, I honestly don't know what mortgage you're talking about. It's probably the means and methods to transfer it to the Berks County Redevelopment Authority.
Yeah, I don't know the details of that loan myself. Like I say, I didn't write the question.
There's no mortgage. We didn't mortgage it. Yeah. It did not sell. The sale fell through. Yeah. Nobody has interest-free loan on the promenade. Okay. I'll leave it to that.
I'm just curious about something, going back to the Reading Country Club, and you know, maybe you can, I had heard a rumor, maybe it's just a rumor, but I heard there was another interested party, and there wasn't a lot of cooperation in that person.
The bidding done public.
No other interested party whatsoever, is that correct?
One interested party.
Yeah. Okay.
I wish there were more.
Yeah.
And I think I asked the question at the time, what was appraised for? It was appraised than the initial partial payment that we were getting, which made it a better pill to swallow.
Yeah. Fair enough. Larry.
The prominent, I guess this goes back to planning. You know, they've been talking about having regional planning. I've been here a long time, and it seems like every new set of supervisors we go through, I mean, we went through a lot in the past 10 or 15 years, have a different focus. It's like you said, they bought the country club to stop development. That's what the people in Exeter wanted. They wanted to keep it where it was, and just as you said, 216 apartments that they said were going to have no kids in it. You know, we were just told all kinds of things. The country club, it was losing money, absolutely. We owed, I don't know, $20 million on it. So we still owe, we paid off $17, $18 million of it. To me, there was another option to turn the golf course into a park for the township. Sell the country club and turn that into a park. I mean, why throw away $17 million? I mean, give some, like I said, I like to see, if I'm going to spend money, I like to see something that I can physically touch. I think Jack, just met Jack tonight, great guy, obviously great businessman. they're doing a great job in there. But it's like Mohammad said, there's probably going to be more, probably eventually going to put a hotel or houses on the golf course. So to me, there was other options that weren't looked at. It was either keep it or sell it. And you've got, like I said, you've got to get the people more involved instead of just having that small group of 5 people discussing things with the lawyer in the back room. That's just my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. All right, question number 6. We're halfway there. In August of 2024, the Board of Supervisors approved a payment of $805,000 to one of its members. Do you think that was an appropriate use of public funds? And if not, how would you have better used that money? And Larry, we'll start with you on this question.
I think myself and everyone I've ever talked to said, I don't even know how they did that to pay Dave off. I mean, I've never heard, honestly, of anybody saying to someone, well, we give you $750,000 when you get off the board. I just don't understand that, and I think a lot of people in the township don't understand it. I think we all know Dave could be very abrasive, but is it worth spending that much money to get rid of a person off the board? I mean, we have $1 million. I'm sure Chris could buy another fire truck, $1 million. I'm sure, I'm sure we could find plenty of excuses for $1 million. So, no, I didn't agree with it at all.
Mohammad.
I'll keep it simple. Thank God that was before me.
Yeah.
I would not have approached it that way. I don't know what the circumstances were back then. I don't know what transpired, but would have just let the gentleman on his turn.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. Recent boards have moved away from public discussion of financial matters, opting instead for consent agendas and private discussions. What is your experience with financial oversight or budgeting? And how would you promote transparency and accountability in township financial reporting during public meetings? And Mohammad, will start with you.
Sure, certainly. So we'll start with my experience. As I've mentioned, I'm a senior engineer project manager at the Turnpike Commission. Ran just recently a $900 million project out west called the Southern Beltway. I'm currently the project manager of the most expensive project that Turnpike will ever build, which is mileposts 320 to 324. Manage about 500 people on a daily basis. Aside from that, I'm a businessman and an entrepreneur, so I know finances in and out, and I know when things is going to have a good turn bag or not. That's what I could apply to it. Let me add and clarify, I'm not an accountant, I'm a businessman. With that being said, what we could do at the township with the financial reporting, I would invite people to look at the disbursements list more as it gets posted. Look at it, see what's being spent on, and honestly, it will eliminate a lot of the questioning if you just go through it and read it line by line and figure out where the money is being spent at. That's my advice. That's how I improve on it. We will probably try at the quarters when the accountant comes and do their reports. We will expand on that and have more items broken down. That way people and the public could see more breaking down rather than one bulletin point that says salaries. Maybe instead of that, we'll break it down by as much as insurance, as much as an individual salary, and so on.
Thank you. Larry?
Yeah, I don't think people are worried about, I think they all know that, we have documentation on 10,000 one here, 20,000 one there. I think it's the people want to be involved. Now, that's hard a lot of times because people get up and they yell and they scream and they want their voice to be heard. And it's hard. Right now, I was at a couple meetings and I saw, and they're very short meetings now. Before we had very long meetings that were very vocal. But the people at least were heard. Now sometimes in democracy, you've got to listen to the people whether or not, it's easy or not. I agree, it's much easier to go in the back room and say 5 people agree that this should be done. And we come out and we say, okay, this is what we're going to do. There's no discussion and to say, well, just look at the, well, we're not all, we want to trust our supervisors. Right now, there's not a whole lot of trust in Exeter and the supervisors from all the things that have been done, for whatever, both sides, I could say. But we want to trust our supervisors, and not everybody has the time or the expertise to look at, a financial sheet and say, oh, this money is $10 went there, that $20 went there. They want to trust the supervisors, and I think we've lost that trust. I think we got to get back to that. And I think we got to bring people more into, like you said, maybe have a discussion one week and have disbursements next week, or talking about what you're going to, when he's talking about buying a big firehouse or an administration, but that's a big cost to the people. They want to be involved. Like I said, it really pushed a lot of people back when they pushed ahead with that manager right away. It just didn't seem right to do. Like I said, they come to me and say, well, Larry, what can we do? I said, you got to go to meetings. Well, I don't have time to go to meetings. That's why people are frustrated. They want to trust their supervisors.
Thank you. Okay. In the past several years, the township's funding of the library has increased by 90%. Should this level of investment continue, many residents who benefit from the library are senior citizens or young families. Are there additional ways the township should support these populations? Larry, we'll start with you.
Honestly, I use the library a lot. I like the library, the Dunn Center here. There's things going, this is one of the good things about this township. The library does so many good things. If you're ever in there, there's constant flow in and out. You have the young people bringing their kids in. They have all kind of things with kids. My wife goes to yoga up at the library. It's used by everybody in the township. Now, I would say one thing, it's probably too good because we see a lot of people from everywhere else coming in and using our library. So that, like I said, it just gets to be too good sometimes. I don't know what more they can do. Right now, they do so much. If you go in there, you get a weekly newsletter from them of what they're doing. Every day they're doing something different. So I think that they cut the library back a little bit in this last budget, and I didn't know why. And like I said, personally, I know it's used a lot. It's one of the premier things that, we need a fire company, we need a police department, but everybody uses the library, and I like it.
Thank you. Mom?
Yes, sure. To echo my friend Larry here, is the library is fantastic. It's one of the highlights of Exeter, to be honest with you. I personally enjoy it, and my little one enjoys it, especially the reading trail. The reason of scaling back the funding ever so slightly was trying to make better budget at the end of last year. Also, there is a contingent reason with that is when the library displayed their financial statement, it was not adding up to me. There are things there that shouldn't be. So we said we'll scale it back. If you do better, maybe we'll help you out more. As far as reaching out to different sets of populations, so you're talking about senior citizens and you're talking about parents with young ones, we would like to explore more of things to do. Maybe, and I'll sound silly, but we just recently received a brochure about, what is it called, Go to Yoga, something like that. They're inviting people to it. So just more activities, more things to do for the people so they don't have to travel outside the township. And by doing that, you're doing two things. You're helping the businesses within the township, and you're also helping the people within the township doing something and keeping it here rather than going somewhere else. Just gotta be thinking outside the box. You gotta think new, and you gotta expand your horizon on what will be possible.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Some residents are concerned about the conduct of individuals currently serving on the board, including private and public threats and insults to both supervisors and members of the public. What standards of professional conduct do you believe township supervisors should uphold And how would you model respectful, accountable leadership if elected? And Mohammad, I'll start with you on this one.
Thank you so much. So this is a big one for me. Respect, it runs through everyone. In the township meeting itself, or the Board of Supervisors meeting itself, we have older women, younger kids sitting there. There's no need to use such language. When you use that language in front of your mother, when you use that language in front of your kids or your daughter. Even Jerry one day texted me, and he texted something that's not appropriate, and I replied, I said, Jerry, you're a professional, what's going on?
Well, thanks for throwing me under the bus.
any day, but we need to hold ourselves to high standards. You are representing the people. You should not be disrespecting the people. Never that should be done. I'll keep it simple.
Myron.
I can say this new board, I have no problem. I've never seen them, like I said, I don't know what you refer to. Maybe people in the audience get a little touchy, but I've never seen anyone on this board give anyone a hard time or anything. So, like I said, people do get touchy. People get loud sometimes. They get frustrated for different reasons. I had the one woman that came in about her business was getting cut off by the police or whatever. She was very frustrated. People do get frustrated when it's their livelihoods, and I think sometimes, I was set out on the other end of the sewer board for years, and people would come in with, they would be very frustrated as to what their bill was wrong or something else was happening. They get touched. I think it's how people deal with that on the board. Because I haven't seen anyone on the board in some of the other previous iterations of the board. I did see some problems, but this board has been very good at dealing with people. I can't say any more than that.
Yeah, there has been some instances of disrespect from the current board that I've witnessed. And you can't control what the people do or say to the board, but the board, as public officials, should always maintain a level of decorum that offers dignity and respect to everyone, regardless of how they're being treated, online or in person. In my opinion, anyway.
I have heard that one or two of the supervisors have gotten into a back and forth. I didn't see it, but like I said, things do happen. Everybody's human.
Sure, of course. Okay, and the final question from me before we go to the audience. In 2019, the sale of the wastewater treatment plant generated $92.8 million in total proceeds. Of that $92.8 million, as of the beginning of 2025, $38 million remained. What do you believe were the most responsible or impactful uses of the $55 million already spent? And how would you prioritize the use of the remaining $38 million to benefit the community? And we'll start with Larry.
I don't know if 38 million is what's left. I mean, I keep getting different numbers from different people, but I honestly, this is what I said in my introduction, I honestly don't know where, I don't know, 50, 60 million dollars went to, and I think that's a problem. I know for a time we were paying $5 million a year in legal fees. We bought a country club, we sold the country club for a loss of $15 million. What's happened is because of all that money being in there, people are very lackadaisical about spending $1 million here, spending $1 million there. Like you said, let's get somebody off the board, give them $1 million. Like that's in most areas. I was looking at going through other areas, and I see a small fire department, and I saw the one thing in the paper where the fire company was raising $20,000 to put on a new roof. We don't have that problem here. It seems like our problem is we have too much money. And like I said, that's the reason I would like to see spend the money, give us something solid, give us a building or something that isn't being wasted by paying people off or paying lawyers for the country club or just getting rid of the country club. Give the people something solid and say, okay, I'm paying higher sewer bills, but this is what we got for it. Like I said, I don't know where that I'm sure that's all written down, like Mohammad said, if you look that back, where this $1 million, where that $1 million went, but I don't know where it went. I can't say, look, there's where my $1 million went.
Thank you. Mohammad?
Yeah, certainly. So I asked the same question when I got appointed, and I was directed to an nice article that was written and put together, breaking down where the money went. The gist of the story is most of the money went to paying debt, whether it was generated by the sewer treatment plant, or whether it was a pension cap, or whatever the reason may be. And we're left with this so little funds that we have. And I believe the best use of it, there's two avenues that I think about the future as well, because I want to keep that money generating interest so you could utilize it in a rainy day, but in the same perspective, you want to do something for the people with what's remaining. You want to do something that people can enjoy. Many ideas comes to mind, and obviously, but we first and foremost is we got to take care of the departments that provides the services to the people. So hypothetical example is the fire station. I don't think it's going to cost and blow away the budget that it has. I'm thinking probably a quarter of that. If we choose to go that route. Now that's up to the people to decide how we fund this thing later on. But I think we need to have something materialistic for the people of Exeter to enjoy. And we say, well, we're suffering from this Pennsylvania American water sale, but at least we got this park, this skating park, or this gazebo, or that place to hold events. And I think we should do that truly. It needs to be for the people and the services that the department that provides people those services as well. So we're trying to stretch it really thin. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, at this point, I think we're going to move on to questions from the audience. There's a microphone set up right in the center aisle there, and you can just get in line at the microphone if you'd like to ask any questions. We'd ask that you state your name and then who you're directing your question to, and state your question.
Who's first?
Anyone?
Yeah, hold on. Give me a second. Go ahead. Oh, there you go. Hang on.
Ma'am, would you wish me to come next to you so I would hear it and I'll repeat it? I'm rather
Go ahead.
high.
I can bring
Try it.
Okay.
Try it. It's not working.
Come up here and use one of these.
Yeah, you can use one of these.
Okay, my name is Vicki D'Arcangelo, and I'm a resident of Exeter Township. And I did have a couple questions, but I would just like to comment, if that's okay. Okay. I like hearing that both of you are advocating for transparency of the supervisory board. I used to attend meetings regularly, and I would speak at the meetings and write letters, but get no response to my questions or comments. I felt that the board did not care. I also saw other people commenting at the meetings and get increasingly frustrated when they would get no responses from the board to any of their questions they were asking. It just seems to me that the board is out of touch with the residents of Exeter. And this seems relevant with the very few people who are here tonight. I hope with this election that we can see some change.
Thank you. Is there anyone else with a question or comment?
You can't resist, Larry. I can only talk to you, though. All right? It gave me a lot of money not to talk to anyone else. So I've heard a lot of numbers thrown around. I'm very familiar with numbers. I'm a numbers guy. I've been a financial analyst and accountant for 40 years. I even worked with you. I even worked for Jack in the early 1990s. You probably don't remember. And I worked at billion-dollar companies. In fact, I helped grow billion-dollar companies. So when I say this, I say it because I've really scrutinized the financials of our township. Until 2019, the Reading Country Club only averaged a $50,000 loss a year. And then the Exeter Reading Country Club Partnership, the ERCCP, got control of it and immediately started losing over $300,000 in operating income. And they would never talk about it. And then we have another debacle lately with the RHM, which wasn't brought up tonight. We lost over close to $300,000. We subsidized a private company, RHM, which is owned by Jimmy Boskoff. And I kept bringing this up in the meetings, and they refused to do anything about fixing that, as they refused to cut their expenses when we were losing $300,000. And they tried to hide it. My question to you is, are you really serious about being transparent? Because the number one thing the supervisors need to do is be honest to their residents and show us the financial information. It doesn't come out. We have two people that are finance director, assistant finance director. 3 years ago, they were the accounts receivable and accounts payable clerks. They're now directors making over $100,000 a year. There's so many things wrong with the township. I don't have time to tell you. But I'd like to know what you will do personally as an elected supervisor, knowing what's going on. What will be your first 3 things that you would attempt to do?
I would say, if anybody ever attended, while I was the chairman of the Exeter Sewer Authority, attended one of my meetings, they know everything we did was transparent. There were some things, I think there was 1 or 2 things that had to do with personnel issues. But other than that, everything was kept out in the open. We had a lawyer, just like the supervisors had a lawyer, that would always say, oh, can we go in the back and talk about this? We never did. There's no reason to not involve the people. They're the ones paying the bills. We always kept it out in the open. That would be, being one person on the board, I would push for that. The second thing I would push for is to get the people involved, maybe form a committee, or like we do with projects, get them involved in the administration building and the fire company. Which one is more important to the people? Which one do we need more? How much is it going to cost? That would be a top priority. Third priority would be improving the township for walkability, bikeability, everything else. So that's my
Mohammad, what would be your top 3 priorities?
I will actually try to echo what Larry just said. Improve the walkability of the township, because that will segue into adding activities for different age groups. And as well as maybe we could involve and form what is called a stakeholder committee or something like that from the residents that would give us their time to sit and evaluate and see how the firehouse or the municipal building or whatever project we may take on to the future shape its way, and we'll have a monthly meeting or a quarterly meeting where those people who are interested in the project and would like their voices heard get involved and actually show up and voice their opinion to what is going to be built and how things are going to be spent, because that would be fantastic.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
Okay, I actually have 2 questions. The first one is, I've been monitoring what Exeter Township has been doing since 2019. 2019. And according to the second class township code, we're supposed to have our audit completed already by now. We're also supposed to have the DCED report completed by now. We've never made the commitment in 5 years, and probably longer than that. This is financial information that you report to the public, telling them how you spend our money. Take, for example, those 5 years. We got 92 million, 93 million from the sewer plant. We averaged, with adding the interest, we averaged about 15 million a year. 5 years, that's 75 million. So let's round it off, $175 million in 5 years, and we got less than 40 million left in the bank at the end of 2025. Where did all this money go? Now maybe there's a reason for that, but there's no report that comes out that tells us really in layman's terms, people that aren't financial people that can understand it. And there's no financial information coming out on a regular basis. So what would you do to change it? Would you kind of make the trains run on time, so to speak, for our audits?
So unfortunately, I cannot answer directly to Mr. Hughes because of the position I hold currently. So you go, then if they wish for me to hear my part, you would have to ask the question.
Dave knows his accounting, he can come with it. Dave knows what he's talking about in accounting, and I'm sure that what happens is you miss deadlines a lot of times. I think this gets back to the people's trust. If people trust the supervisory board, people don't question things. Right now, because of all the problems, the dealings that have been going on, like I said, we've probably ended up with $175 million with interest. We've got $40 million left. Where did it go? People want to know because they're paying the bills in their sewer bill and in the taxes. And I think they deserve an answer, and I think we need to be more transparent. I think what Mohammad said was good. Form a little committee that people can ask, okay, if you're that interested, get on the committee. That way you keep the people involved and the people can't complain.
Mohammad, if you have anything to add to Larry's comment, I'd be happy to hear it.
One of the things I think we're a bit struggling with is the auditor committee or group, and we're losing those people, and we're having difficulty replacing them. Probably that's maybe a reason why we're not seeing reports. I know we hired an independent one, and they came up with their reports, but there is no reason that we cannot follow the trail. The money doesn't lie, the numbers don't lie. We should be able to follow and figure out where everything went. But Mr. Hughes was on the board, and I'm sure he figured out where everything went rather quickly.
Any other questions? Tom?
He's ready.
Tom Howell, and I'd just like to make some comments, please.
Okay.
On May the 20th and November the 4th, people will go to the polls, and under the federal and state constitutions, we have free speech, free press, free religion, and the right to vote. All four of those are personal choices, and that's what's so great about this country, is that you decide how you want to vote or how you want to present the problems you have or the good things about the township. We are not voting for a king, queen, or a dictator. And unfortunately, comments have been made by certain people which reflect that they think that we serve them where they are really public servants and we pay all the bills. I am one of the persons whose comment about the library and the $50,000 that was taken away from the library. All those comments and my comments are from adults who have gone through all the stages. If you've forgotten, we learned our ABCs and our numbers. We had our parents hopefully read to us. We got to read simple stuff, and we built on those through stages through our lives. I was born in '46. We didn't have the studies where it showed that you got to get a hold of the kid and teach them from basically 0 up to first grade. And if you don't do that, they're behind. So the library does that. And the end product of all that is the fact that all of us can read, and hopefully we can understand what we're reading. Unfortunately, some people don't see it that way. If you read something, and in particular with the township, the law, what does the law say? If you can't understand and apply the law, then you didn't learn what you were supposed to learn going through all those stages, is my opinion. So we discussed a lot of things that aren't done and should be done for the public. Because like I said, we pay the bills. The meeting room is 30 seats, and the conduct and the intimidation that has happened over the last 24 years that I've gone to meetings predicates that a lot of people don't show up, they don't get their answers, they get, oh, thanks for the comment, and that's it, it dies. And then there's also the fact of integrity of the board. This was posted on Exeter Examiner, and it states, Ham was fired by Exeter for attempting to blackmail the supervisors. So my question, or my comment is, Mr. Ham is still on the board. Nobody has done any investigation, to my knowledge. They investigated Mr. Hughes for harassment, and that was a waste of money. So we're not following and we're not reading the law, we're just doing whatever we feel like we can do. It was stated at the last meeting by Mr. Pio, if you don't vote, you can't complain. Where is that in the law? I can't find it. And he doesn't understand that he's a public servant and he has to serve us in a way that the law clearly states. So there's a lot of people in government and a lot of people, just regular people who don't know the law, and then they get emotional about it. I don't really see too much change. Action speaks louder than words. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for the candidates before we wrap things up?
Question. I've been to several meetings. I watched a lot on TV, on live stream. And it appears to me that whenever the public asks a question, there is no response, there's no answer, and I was under the understanding that they don't have to answer you. It's not a give and take conversation. Is that a law? Either one.
Anyone, okay.
You're
So-
both on the board, so you
Yeah.
should know.
So,
Or would be.
so I got on
Okay,
in
sorry.
September, no problem.
Thank
So there's different interpretation by different supervisors, and my interpretation is, if you're asking a question, you need a response. If you're asking a question, you would at least to be directed to somebody that could help you with your concern. Other supervisors looks at it as, this is a comment, thus I don't need to answer.
Okay. I've seen questions asked
Yes.
and no response. I think it's rude. Because the supervisor asked to have that position. They were elected by the township, the people of the township. So they deserve an answer. If you don't have an answer, at least promise to get back to that person. But a lot of times, they're just dismissed, and I just think it's rude. Well, I understand that sometimes it can become a free-for-all, and you don't want that either. Is there how would you address that? Would you have more town hall meetings to hear what the people have to say? Because that's the only way you're going to get it. Because if you talk amongst yourselves, and I'm just as guilty, we have to talk to our neighbors and our friends. This is not Exeter Township. This is a shame that only a few people are here. So we have to get out and talk to more people, get more of the public involved, because if you don't come, you don't really have a right to write. You gotta be here, you gotta voice your opinion, and I think maybe town hall meetings might be the answer to some larger issues.
People ask a question and they don't get an answer. They get frustrated.
And then they don't come.
So it's both sides of the time.
I want to know if you're elected and if you're re-elected, or at least elected, besides being appointed, would you address and answer a question that is being posed to you during a meeting and not just crickets?
So-
I've seen it happen too many times.
Yeah, so if you've been to the recent meetings since I was appointed chairman, I've tried to make it a priority to answer or at least direct to somebody. Go through the tape, watch it. That's what I intend to continue doing.
I would say this, if you talk to the people, like Tom, who used to come to the sewer board meetings, nobody ever walked out of there without an answer. Now, sometimes they don't like the answer, but they got an answer, one way or the other. Anybody else?
Any other questions? Dave, you have one more comment?
I do.
If it's a comment, let's keep the comments short, please.
Yeah, this is just to you, Larry, and I can only talk to you. This lady brought up a good point about the public comments. I mean, they don't have to answer the public comments. They can, but they don't have to. But we had a situation most recently where our solicitor was sitting there, and he told a person making a public comment that they only had 40 seconds left. And that's not his job. The person who decides how short or how long a public comment is the chairman. And I cite that because it's an indication of how onerous our solicitor is in our community. He is running the show, okay? $805,000 stake. I begged everyone, don't do it. It's a dead cause. But they had to get rid of me because I know too much. So there's $805,000 really wasted, absolutely wasted. This fire station, same thing. If you listen to the people will tell you what you should do. I think that, and the people out there that I talk to, we don't need a third fire station. They've got $2 million of our tax money on their account. The millage is too high. They're getting too much money from us. But let me finish my comment. Well, yeah, you're talking to an accountant here, okay? So then we forget all the things that have happened. We kicked out Viva. That cost us, after settlement, $1.8 million kicking them out. And they were going to go under to begin with. And then the lawyer fees were $2 million. So right after we got that $92.8 million, $3 million was out the door on that. $3.8 million was out the door. Then we also bought the Promenade at the same time. That was $3 million. You know, I mean, it just went out the door. So what I'm asking you is to fight for us. Bring the people, listen to the people. They will tell you if you're doing the right thing or not. But that's why we're all shut out right now. You can't go in there and talk about, you know, our opinion. You don't get the opinion, but you got to stay in touch with the people. I won't be able to go in there and say anything, but I'll write things.
Thank you.
Okay. Unless there's any other questions, we'll move on to closing statements by the two candidates. Larry, let's start with you.
I think we had a good discussion tonight. My only thing is to say that a lot of what people are saying is that they just don't know what's going on. There's no transparency, as they say nowadays. People are just shut out. It's like the woman said, if you don't get an answer, I saw a couple people come in and they just sit there and look at them and say, are you done talking? And they walk away, and that's the end of the discussion. And you can't have that nowadays. Everybody wants to be involved. They want to be involved. They want to feel like they're heard, get some kind of an answer back. I don't know if we have that right now, but it seems like we don't. And hopefully if I get on the board, maybe I can push for that a little more. Thank you.
Thank you. Mohammad.
Sure. So if I'm elected, I'll intend to reach across the table and work with whoever on the board at the time to achieve one common goal, which is serving our community and improving its services. I'd like to remind everyone that social media is not a forum to communicate to the board or voice an opinion. Please write to the board via email or call them officially. That way your concern is documented. And lastly, I would like to thank you all for being here, and I would recommend, and definitely you guys, remind you to go out and vote, please. Thank you.
Okay, in closing, I'd like to thank both of these candidates who appeared here tonight to face the taxpayers and voters of this township head on, and also remind you that George Bell, Michelle Kircher, and Amanda Johnsen are also running for Township Supervisor, but they did choose not to participate in this forum. We wish both of you the very best of luck in this upcoming election. I'd also like to thank the Exeter Examiner and Jerry Geloff Media for organizing, sponsoring, and hosting this forum, as well as the resident panel of Allison Wilson, Chad Capelin, Jonathan Scatia, and John Beck, who worked together to determine the topics and questions for tonight's forum. Also a shout out and thanks to Exeter Township, Township Manager Bill Heim, as well as Parks and Rec Coordinator Becky Mancuso for their cooperation in providing us the use of the Dunn Community Center for the forum. The primary election is coming up Tuesday, May 20th. Again, please remember when voting that there are 3 supervisor seats available, 1 2-year term and 2 6-year terms. And your votes do make a difference in local leadership. So please get out there and vote. On behalf of the Exeter Examiner and Jerry Geloff Media, thank you all for coming here tonight, and thank you to those who tuned in at home. I'm Jim Ruoff, and it's been a pleasure moderating this event. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you for watching the Exeter Township Supervisors Candidates Forum. We appreciate your time, interest, and commitment to staying informed about the people who want to lead our community. Thank you to Larry Drogo, Mohammad, and Dave Vollmer, the only candidates who chose to show up and speak directly to the voters, knowing how important communication with the citizenry is. Remember to get out and vote on Tuesday, May 20th. This has been a presentation of the Exeter Examiner and JG Media. Good night.